Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Priyo. The drift in religion is more to do with the wrong approach and attitude that we have towards religion. We have drifted away from the right attitude towards religion and the right approach towards religion. What is the attitude? Attitude should be for the sake of realization, not for some utility that we are going to get out of the spiritual practices or religious practices. The utility could be at the level of material, it could be at the level of emotion, or it could be at the level of intellectual curiosity. It could be anything. It doesn't matter what that utility is. That's a wrong approach. That utilitarian attitude, the servile attitude towards religion. We have moved away from the liberal approach to religion. Non-utilitarian attitude, one. Second one is the attitude wrong, one. Number two is the wrong approach that we are having from the student angle. The students have missed the second dimension of religion. That is, the method is not to allow the external agencies to do our thinking. They do all the effort and we should get the benefit of it, says. That is not the way you can get enlightenment, growth, evolution, moksha, realization, whatever you call it. You have to strive. You have to work all alone by yourself. Now this approach is I slog for my realization, or somebody else, the guru does all the work, and through some magic touch of the guru, through some contact of the guru, I get the experience of realization. So I don't have to do any work. So that's where we all believe that wherever we get some sort of an experience like that, there is a gate crash. He touched me, suddenly I was transported to some other planet, some other, world. And suddenly I saw someone, flying in the air and landing in front of me. And he asked me to, he gave one tap to me. Suddenly I saw everything different. Something like that. But that is not my effort. All the effort was done by the guru. The master has done all the work. Now what is the work from my side? My side is I am just a beneficiary, receiving the benefit of it. It's like grandfather's properties, everything goes to grandson. Like that we think. Guru's vision also will come to us. That is very convenient for us, you see, isn't it? I don't have to do anything. That's what we say. Christ died then for the sins that you are committing now, which means already paid. Now I can go on doing sin, there's no problem. All that I have to do is what? Go there and confess. But one rule is that you can't go and confess to Christ straight. Okay, you got to confess only to the priest. Because he has the sole agency. He is the only agent. Only through that agency you can get. It's a fascinating concept. The idea given by those people, confession, is an inspiring idea. But the tragedy is we have reduced it to our convenience. Reduce that to level. That's what Christ himself says. He says, I carry my cross, you carry your cross. When someone comes to help him, to carry the cross, he said, excuse me, I carry my cross, you carry your cross. And that fellow got confused because only Christ was carrying cross. That fellow was not carrying. He couldn't understand what he was talking about. You have to do your independent thinking, he says. Those enlightened masters attained that state of perfection by their own efforts. It's not through some magic they got it. It's through their own effort they got it. It's their effort. Kalidasa did not start writing poetry straight away. You see, it's the effort of it. That effort he had put in. When did he put in that effort, sir? That we don't know. But he had put in that effort. Without which it is not possible. Shakespeare had put in his effort. Einstein has put in his effort. Every master, every one. Maradona had put in his effort. Virat Kohli had put in his effort. It's not that suddenly you don't make that batsman as the player of the decade. You can't get the title like that. That too, when there is so much of competition now to get the title, what amount of effort that man should have put in. With his own effort, he got it. The businessman is successful because of his effort. Now, every one of them had achieved the things by their own effort. Now, what do we want, sir? You put in all the effort, I will enjoy the benefits of it. It doesn't work, he says. That doesn't mean you should not take any guidance. If you want to learn how to bat, if you get a chance to learn from Virat Kohli, learn from him. You can take guidance. You can take their assistance. Nothing wrong in taking assistance. It's not that you should not. In fact, you should. But then you have to play on your own. You have to work on your own. You have to strive. You got to struggle, he says. But the problem is we have allowed the greatness of the masters, the personality of the masters, the goodness of theirs to enslave us. That slavery you've gone into. He who dare not think is a slave, says Drummond. Beautiful statement of his. He who cannot think is a fool. He who will not is a bigot. He who dare not is a slave, he says. Is a slave. Now we dare to think in these lines. Dare to question. Dare to reason. Dare to analyze. If it is said there, accept it. That's it. We don't question it at all. If he says, must be correct. That doesn't mean whatever they say is wrong. You see, Krishna says no, it must be correct. Ramanuja says no, correct. Shankara says no, correct. Yeah, nowadays you can't say Shankara, Ramanuja and all that. Nowadays we have to say some Oxford University scientist had said that. Not in the field of science, in the field of religion. Not in his field. See, in any field. So today, if you are a scientist, you can talk about any field. because we want psychologist, some psychologist. We just have to say, he said that. Sigmund Freud said, therefore it must be correct. I'm not saying whatever Sigmund Freud said is wrong. But per se, we don't accept things. This is the greatest obstacle it faces. And the mistake done by the teachers is they're so genuine. It's not out of, any malicious intentions. It's not that we are, putting some intentions into their action. They are very genuine. They genuinely feel that this is the way it is. And they give certain things. How they do it, sir? They have to squeeze out, he says. They have to extract the material to teach, squeezing it out of the words from the scriptures. That interpretation, how much you have to twist and turn yourself to get that meaning. A meaning which is suiting my things, suiting my ideology. This is the mistake. This is a mistake of this unnatural style of education, giving do's and don'ts, quotes. Says that's the drift. So there is lethargy from the side of the students. There is carelessness from the side of the student. There is indifference from the side of the student. And also there is an unnatural enforcement of these principles from the teacher side. Obviously, what is going to happen? It will definitely cause a disturbance only for us. That's all. That's what he says. And then he is coming back to this basic idea which he gave earlier. The problem of introversion. Now, there is a fundamental problem is there in turning introvert. There is a problem. And he is analyzing what is the problem and what is the root cause of the problem, etc. So two things he is doing here in this topic. He is doing what is the problem in extroversion, the opposite of introversion. What is wrong in that extroverted nature? And then he says, what is the reason for that extroversion and what all happens when your mind gets extroverted? That's what he means by the problem of introversion. It's not that there is a problem in introversion. Many people take it as, being introverted is a real problem. It's not that. He says, why we are not turning introverted? What is the problem in turning the mind introverted? Why? Because of two reasons he gives. The first reason is the world is so tantalizing, it's so exciting, it's so interesting, it is so beautiful. The world is. When anything that is beautiful, automatically your attention will go there. Once you have that weakness, desires. So there are two problems. One, externally it is so nice, and internally there is a weakness. There is an inherent weakness we have. Like a child, if you take an infant, baby, You take a baby and take a, don't try that, little castor oil. If you take that castor oil and put in the tongue of the child, see the face, see the reaction of the child, and you put honey. Take a drop of honey and put honey into the child's tongue and see what is the reaction. When you put honey, the child is so nice it is. It's enjoying. He'll start enjoying the taste of honey, whereas you put this castor oil, it is, the face goes, "Ugh." It's, yeah. Why is it so? See, nobody has told the child, you should go for sweet. Don't go for bitter. Bitter taste. Don't like bitter taste. Like this one. This is good. That is not. Nobody has told the child. But naturally, every child likes it. You play a nice music. Child will go to sleep. Whereas you start scratching the nail against the wall, the child starts feeling disturbed. He doesn't like that sound. It's natural. So, naturally we are designed what? There is a weakness to choose certain things and avoid certain things. This is there inherent in us. To add to that problem, what we face is the world is also going on, designing is going on, happening better and better and better. That's why you see a person's picture on screen, and you go meet that same person but person. Why? Same city you go and see. He's showing that, in Chennai we have the Kuam River. In a movie, he is showing Kuam River, actually. But you see that on screen. It looks so beautiful. We wonder which place is this? P.C. Sriram, he says, that's Kuam River. Yes. Where did you take this picture? He said, Kuam River from Saidapet. Yes. From Saidapet you go, no, that you can see there. That's how it will appear. Why? Now what happens to all of us is this technology coloring, this angle, that frame, that position and clicking, all that looks far more interesting. The person looks so beautiful with the makeup, with that particular camera. When you click a picture, and then you process it, Photoshop, and then you see. That's how those people look so beautiful. Not that they are ugly, otherwise, I'm saying. But their beauty gets so much of, heightening happens. And then we think that person is so beautiful, actually. When you happen to meet that person, how they look. When I was at Ananda, one actress came. Such a popular person, internationally renowned. Come. She's been there for the last 2-3 days. I didn't know. He was attending the classes also. I didn't know this. One day he said, let's have dinner. I said, yes. So in the dinner table, I asked her, who are you? What do you do? He said, you don't know me? He said, I said, I'm sorry. And she, fortunately, she thought I am a sadhu, so you don't watch movies and all that. I didn't tell her, half the time you come and see my room, only HBO is on. She thinks, I must be watching Asta channel or this, all the spiritual channels and all that. You see, and she thought, and she said, I'm this person. I was about to, jump in and say that, let's click a picture. Amazing it was to see. A chatler, don't put who is that person la. I will not answer. Okay. Yaar sir, no. What difference does it make? It's like, unbelievable. That's how the world is presented to us. The way the world is presented to us is so interesting. And the mind has an inherent weakness through desires. So when I have the weakness of a desire, what will happen? The world will start appearing far more attractive. So obviously, my mind will move in the direction of what? It will go in that direction. So why we are not turning introverted? That's what the fundamental question is. Basic question we ask is this: sir, why we are not getting introverted? And there are people who are introverted by nature, and we think they are very lucky. Not that they are lucky, please. Right? They are not lucky, or it's nothing to do with luck or ill luck. It is to do with what? There is no desire in them. They don't have that desire. When a person is not having that desire, he will not look outside. He will start looking within. And going within is, it's easy to look outside. It is easy for us to understand the environment, isn't it? See, animals don't understand the environment. Outside, what's happening? It doesn't understand. See, it will just be there. That's it. It will just live. It doesn't have that smartness to recognize what is this. That's why, amongst dogs, there is no breed. You know that? There is no such thing called a street dog and a breed. This is a bigger breed. This is a useless. That's a big one. That's a small. There is no such thing for them. For them, all that is dogs only. You see, all dogs. They understand only that much. They don't understand breeds. They don't understand nothing. Only we create it. Why? Because we are able to recognize the subtle difference. The way Labrador sits is so unique. Only Labrador sits like that. All dogs don't sit like that. You see, a pug will sit in a particular way. Only pugs do that. We understand that. We are able to recognize what is happening around us. It's easy for us to recognize, but very difficult for us to understand ourselves. What is happening within me? What is happening in me? What is that I am doing? What is it that others are doing very easy for us to recognize? And it is so easy with reference to the world, with reference to the environment. And it looks like that for us. If you say, how do you know Ishwaran? Because you are able to survive, you are able to live your life only because of your ability to understand the people around you, isn't it? If you don't understand what is your spouse, what is your boss, what is your neighbor, who is your friend, what is he, what is this, what is he, all that you understand, there is no problem you have. Now this is where introversion gets really complex, because all that you claim that you are understanding that environment is nothing but projection of your own mind. That's all. You are not understanding your environment or people as they are. All your understanding of them is nothing but your wishful thinking. How I think of you is how I understand you. Now, in this, what is your role? Your role is nothing. But it's easy for me to think of you, rather think of me. For me to think about you is very easy. For me to reason you is very easy. For me to analyze what you are doing, your being, your behavior, your contact, all that is so simple. Whereas it is so difficult for me to analyze and understand myself. Why? Because the nature of mind is what? Outside. Why it is going outside? Because of the pressure of your desires. When your desires are not pressurized, when there is no pressure of your desires, then you can. So mind by nature can never go inside. Then what has to go inside? Mind equals desires. Okay. Desire, more the desire, more you will be pressurized to go out. And the world is so attractive. So mind is going outward. Now, introversion, we are not able to get in. Now, the mind has to come within. The starting point has to be from where? The starting point cannot be from mind. The starting point has to be from the intellect. You're all with me? Think carefully. World is very attractive, and my senses has a natural gravitation towards the pleasant things and unpleasant things. Also, my desires for the pleasant and avoiding the unpleasant is so strong in me. Therefore, where will I gravitate? Where that gravitation will be? Senses gets gravitated towards the world, and the mind also gravitates towards the world. In this, introversion has to begin from where? And then you have to withdraw the mind. Mind has to come back to you, and the senses has to be brought back to you. Now, who will do all that? Starting point of that has to be what? Is the intellect. Right. Now you may be wondering why suddenly he is talking about problem, drift in religion and problem of introversion. Enna connection? What is the connection between the two topics? This is how you study the book. What is the link? Why is he suddenly talking about drift in religion he spoke, and suddenly he is jumping over to problem of introversion. What is the problem? Is here. This is the link. This is going. This is also going. The intellect is so weak today. If at all there has to be pulling inside, bringing that mind back inside, that has to be done by the intellect. And unfortunately, the intellect is very weak today. Therefore, if at all I have to start the process of introversion, I have to start from where, what I have to do. So what is the meaning of become introverted? Go within, move within, move within. You cannot move within. Moving within means who has to move? Mind will not move. Why? It is having so much of desires. It will not move within. There are few people by nature, they don't have desires. So for them, the mind will go within. But our condition is not like that. Our condition is we have more desires. When we have more desires, what happens? For those who have less desires, introversion is natural, effortless. Only to the extent of what? Not get so easily attracted by the things that attracts us. Right? We get attracted by certain things. They will not get attracted. You say Belgian chocolate ice cream. He will not fall for that. Right? You can't say, Black Forest cake means he will fall for it. No, he will not fall for that. These things are all he will not fall for. Right? You can't tell him, I will pay you little more. Can you? He will not fall for extra money also. Right? You can't buy him with all these things. Why? Because the mind has turned. But most of our condition is desires. To these people, what is the starting point? Going within for them means to go towards the scriptures. Getting into the scriptures is called going within, called introversion. The problem is the starting point of introversion is not going inside you, it is going outside you, which is the scriptures. Who has to give you that? The teachings has to be the exposition, that knowledge that is embedded there has to be expounded and provided to you. They have to dig it out and give it to you. And that's where the mistake is done by the masters. Now, there is a link between drift in religion and problem of introversion. Puriyardo? I don't know. To me, it looks very clear. Otherwise, I couldn't understand what is the connection between drift in religion and the problem of introversion. What is the connection between the two? It is very easy for the mind to understand, for all of us. Mind in the sense for all of us. It looks easy, to understand people around us. What is environment? Yeah, today weather condition is like this, weather condition is like that. It is going to be, rain. There will be rain after 1 week. They predicted, this storm. 3 weeks before they had predicted there is going to be rain. Fascinating to see how they are able to understand the things. That understanding we are not able to have about our own self. Why we are not able to do that is the basic question. Then comes the problem, what is wrong in extroversion? Okay, if I don't go into introversion, what is wrong in that? What if I am extroverted? What is the issue there? What is going to be happening to us in life? And that's where he goes to the next idea, next thought of what is wrong with extroversion he gives. Now, this is where we have this going within, understanding yourself means two ways of understanding. One is a fundamental understanding about myself is I am this little self, and this little self has to keep growing. Evolution. My little self is going to get better and better and better and better and better. One day, what will happen? The little self will become the best. What is a little self? Go back to the previous chapter. Human composition, matter and spirit. The little self is what matter. What is this? Body, mind, intellect. What is perfection in body? All of us can understand this. You see, is there a thing existing in the world called perfect body? Is it possible to have a perfect body in the world? That's not possible. Why? Perfection implies static, isn't it? But the law of life is what? A static perfection is not possible in the world. That's the law of life. How can you have perfection in the world? In the world means what, sir? Only three things we know. We know world of body, world of mind, world of emotions, and the world of thoughts, intellect. So there are only three we know: body, mind, intellect. And it is so interesting for us to probe. We had, yesterday, Ramana Jayanti. Right? Very, very interesting one. There's a big celebration for that. And when Ramana was there, I think 1946, correct? 1946. It was 50th year of Ramana arriving at Tiruvannamalai. So those people, at that time, they wanted to have that celebration. Too much of philosophy, konjam gossip in between. Just to relax. Otherwise, it become too heavy. So they wanted to hold this one. Ramana is not far. 50 years. There's no meaning to that, 50 years, 20 years, 20 years. Because there's no starting or ending here. That is not, Shastra at all. That is because in the scripture, in our tradition, our year calculation is cyclic. 60 years. Prabhava, Vibhava, it will start. If you see our calendar, every year has a name. It is what 60. That 60 will come as a cycle. That's why we celebrate 60th birthday. First birthday per person, and then 60th birthday we used to celebrate. Now every birthday we celebrate. That's a different thing. Year calculation is not in the in the Western. It is linear calculation. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When it will grow, end, nobody knows. Here it is cyclic. Same thing will repeat again. Same thing will repeat. It's a big deal. 50 years being there, and they wanted to have a big celebration. Finally, there is another master. He says, you want to become world-renowned master. Yes. Be ready to be a slave of your disciples. Those who are a slave of their disciples become world-renowned masters. Because they will put conditions. The master has to behave according to their conditions. Now, these people forced him. He said, look here, you can do whatever you want, but don't ask me to do anything on the day. My routine is the same routine, no change. So don't come to me and say, you do this, you do that. Landing. I said, okay. And these people made such a big celebration, and they were supposed to release a souvenir at that time. And I told him, you're releasing souvenir, 50 years of yours and all that. Of, how great Ramana is, this and all that, those things. On that day, suddenly in the evening, suddenly the thought came to him, it seems. Souvenir, bring me that, I want to see the souvenir. Suddenly he got curious. That's what they are, they are balavat. Their behavior is like, children, they are. They get so excited. Hey, yeah, souvenir, let's see, a picture. Photos lam podu paakalam. And all these organizers were looking at each other. They don't know what to do because it was not released. He said, yeah, why is not released? That foreword was supposed to be written by Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. And there was a delay in getting the foreword from Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. Therefore, we could not print it on time and publish it. And Ramana said, it's a tragedy of life. He says, no. What is it? He says, now Radhakrishnan has to certify me. Only then it will come out. No, he says. That Ramana just reminded of that. Yesterday, Jayanti, I also got some, forward WhatsApp. Nowadays we have no WhatsApp forward. No clue of what Ramana is, what he stands for. Simply send, talk about. What is so interesting is, does any one of us have a problem in understanding that Ramana had cancer? Because he had a cancer, I suppose you all know that. He had cancer. He was not having a perfect body. There's an imperfection in the body. There is a flaw in the body. There is a fault in the body. That all of us can agree and accept. A master having it, the guru having it. Suppose if I were to tell you, if body imperfection is possible at the level of body and you are willing to accept that, what about imperfection in mind? And can you take it? Can you accept imperfection at the level of intellect? Is there a possibility called perfect intellect? The body is also equipment. Mind is also equipment. Intellect is also equipment. By nature, equipments cannot be perfect. It is not possible. Therefore, it will be imperfect. But what is so interesting is, all of us can accept imperfection at the level of body. In fact, we celebrate imperfection at the level of material. If that man were to be living with only one dhoti and no kurta, we celebrate him. What a great Mahatma he is. Why? Because he is not having anything with him. There is nothing he has. Right? So therefore, that is glorified by us. And we also accept, we don't make noise of imperfection at the level of body, of the masters. I'm not talking about others. I'm talking about the masters. Now the question is, what about imperfection at the level of mind and intellect? Can you digest the fact that even if you are a spiritual Mahatma, you can still have imperfect mind, imperfect intellect. Imperfection at the level of body has got nothing to do with the perfection attained by Ramana. Means imperfection at the level of mind, imperfection at the level of intellect also has got nothing to do with the perfection attained by that Mahatma, isn't it? But can we accept it? This is called a lack of thinking. You see, this we all agree. What? See, body, it has got nothing to do with. But imagine if he has a mind, an imperfection, a flaw, a fault in the mind. And so interestingly, we are not able to conceive the fault within us. Why is it that we are not able to conceive, accept? Externally, we may say, no, sir, I am not a good person, I am a bad person, I am not intelligent, I am dumb, I am not as wise as you are, I am ignorant. All that we will say. But deep within ourselves, we will not acknowledge, accept imperfection within us. Why is it so? And Ramatirtha gives answer for that. He says, how can you accept imperfection? Because your real nature is perfection. Therefore, only mistake is what? This unconsciously you are projecting that perfection of the self on the equipments and expecting the equipments to be perfect and believing in perfection of my equipments. You see, that is not possible. Perfection is possible only at the level of the self, Atman, Brahman, at the level of the Supreme Self. Only there it can be. In the world, it cannot be. Why? Perfection is a static perfection. A static perfection is not possible. Why? The definition of world is what? Change. If there is no change, there is no world. That is why a change that I am going to bring about to my little self will appear so inspiring, whereas I am going to reach to that state of Supreme Self will be uninspiring to you. I have this, inspiration. Where is the inspiration? Towards what our inspiration is? If at all we say spiritual, what is inspiring to you at the level of spirituality? Now, okay, I may be making it a little confusing. Now, when we say spiritual person, what strikes you first? What comes to you first? What is so appealing to you? Defines everything. And what is so interesting is we find certain faults in me and I will want those faults to be removed, eliminated, reduced, corrected. That will appear very inspiring. Rather, that will be more inspiring to us than to say that I want to realize the self. That idea of self-realization will not look, inspiring at all. Not very self-realization, big deal. That is all selfish. You see, that's very wrong. Asking for self-realization and all is very wrong. That's negative. What is positive, sir? You have a fault. You have a faulty mind. You have a faulty intellect, wrong thinking, wrong emotion, wrong desire, All those things, wrong behavior, correct those things. Correcting that will look so inspiring. This is called extroversion. Okay, that. What is extroversion? What is introversion? The problem of introversion is this, essentially. Then further grossification comes. And he's starting from the further grossification. He says, worst thing is what? The worst behavior is, instead of finding my fault, I start finding the faults of others. First of all, finding fault itself is wrong. Why? Because by nature, world is this. That's what Christ says. Iniquity there shall be, says. You don't expect the world to be equal. There's no equality. There's no equal. All are equal. All, fantasy. And not in reality. Now, how do you expect all equal? Huh? Is Michael Jackson equal to, Ramanujam? Both are greats. You say. Now, if they are greats, how do you say this fellow is equal to that fellow? Are they equal? There's no equality. There is fluctuation. There will be change. Why? World means changing constantly. There is no such thing called perfection in the world. Then from where we got that idea of perfection, that's where Ram Tirtha comes and says, it is because ignorantly you are positing the perfection of the self onto the world. Thereby, you are expecting that imperfect world to be made perfect. And that looks so inspiring to all of us. Why? Because that feeds your ego. That retains your little self. You are beautifying the little self in the name of saying what? I am getting better. I'm getting better. I should change. I should change this. I should change that. Either in me or in others. And what change you want in others? What you believe as fault in them. Isn't it? I say this is wrong in you, and I say that you need to correct. I don't validate you at all here. You are totally invalidated. You are a slave. I have decided this is your fault. And what you have to do, correct that. And that is the problem for all our life situations. Any problem that you are experiencing in life, in this world, is because of this fundamental problem of the mind, the nature of mind, extroverted. And this extroverted nature of mind will never allow you to pause and investigate into the facts of life, the realities of life. You can never pause and think. It's so tantalizing. It gets so involved. Therefore, what we need to do, sir, take the assistance from the scriptures. Scriptures, I have told you, scriptures means any textbook, okay, any classical literature. And that's why he takes a poem. We'll do the poem in the next class. Okay. I'll give you the gist of it. He just takes one, poem. And in our academy course, when we study, the textbook we used to start with this select English poems is the first text we used to study. when I was doing the course, as a first book, starting of the course is with the select English poems. And then we move to other book, then we move to Vedanta Treatise. And then we come to Bhajagovindam, Jnana Shloka, Bhagavad Gita. Every fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita inserted with Upanishads. This is the sequence. So select English poems, Vedanta Treatise, Bhajagovindam, Atmabodha, Dhyana Shlokas, Bhagavad Gita, 4 Upanishads. This is the whole thing we used to study. And of course, now we have this fall of human intellect also. And then the Holocaust of attachment, governing business relationships. Those books also have come in. When I was doing the course, this is the first poem we studied. And when he was doing the poem, he said, in these 3 years, if you have understood this poem, my job is done. All that you need to know is the 2 poems. You get the message of these 2 poems, problem solved. Everything is contained in the 2. The first half is this, second half is next one. The turkey and the ant and the pond. My beak is pointed, their beaks are round. Is that any reason that I should be drowned? That's all. That's the pond. And this one is poor one. Says, ere you remark others' sin, with thy own conscience look within. Control thy more gracious bill, nor for breakfast nation skill. It's a conversation between turkey and ant. A fascinating point. The problem of extroversion. What is wrong in extroversion? What is the issue there? And why is it so difficult for the mind to get introverted? So introversion is first, we need to move away from looking at the world to within, and then don't look at, when you say look within, don't keep looking at your equipments. Look at the self. Focus on the self. Don't focus on the equipments. You focus on the equipments out. So to keep that going, who will help you? Only scriptures will help you. The scriptures will assist us, will give us the sufficient support to keep us on track. So problem is what? Mind is going out. Why it is going out? Because the world is so attractive and there is a weakness in the form of desires, the mind. And the intellect is so weak. So the weak intellect doesn't have the power to pull that mind back or shell the desires out and bring it out, bring that mind back to focus. How that can get that support, that power for the intellect is only when the intellect penetrates, probes into the scriptures. And how the probing has to be done? Your approach and your attitude. Your attitude and approach has to be correct. What is the attitude, sir? Liberal. Approach is free thinking. We have drifted away from that. And therefore, what is it? Introversion has become a big problem. Therefore, it looks so difficult for us. Therefore, it looks impractical for us. So, practical Vedanta. What is practical Vedanta? Look within. What is looking within, sir? Don't start look within. Right? When the scriptures, when they say look within, don't keep looking inside. Look where? Look into the scriptures. Get into the scriptures. Thereby, free thinking and original thinking and reflection and contemplation, questioning, investigation, and inquiry on the truths expounded in the scriptures will provide the intellect sufficient stamina and strength to pull the mind back and focus it on the self. Don't pull the mind back to focus on itself. If you keep looking at the equipments, finished. And what is interesting is equipments change will look so inspiring. Correction at the level of equipments will look far more inspiring and interesting, engaging than to say that mission is to realize the self. Resolve to focus on the self. This is the resolution you take for this new year. Don't focus on corona. Right? Even if corona goes, you will go. Your body, there is no perfection possibility. Don't expect. Right? It will go off. There will be imperfection in the world. Don't worry about it. Focus on the self. Now, when you say focus on the self, don't say, who am I, who am I, who am I? In 10 minutes, you will fall off to sleep. Or you will get headache. One of that will happen. Either you will get headache or sleep. You see, go into the scriptures. We'll expound more next year. I wish you all a happy new year.